Okay. Hey, everyone. You know who it is. Anthony Fantano here to cure everyone's depression. It just dawned on me now that I didn't get a drink. I didn't get a drink. I did drink a little something before I came up here. Hopefully for the next 2 hours I stay pretty moist. Hopefully I stay moist for the next few hours. But it is our bi-weekly Q&A live stream where I am taking questions, taking super chats, responding, answering, talking, yap, blabbing, and yapping and blabbing. And yeah, that's mostly what we do over here. That is our prerogative. That's our mission. I hope everybody is doing well. Looking in the chat right now, someone says, bring my mic volume up. Okay, maybe I'll turn that up a little bit. Yeah, bring that up a little bit. Ha. Try to turn it up over here. Okay, I gave it a little whoop. Now it should be a little bit louder now. Give a little whoop. And someone says, did Eminem fall off? I think Eminem fell off a little bit. Yeah, I think he did. I think he did fall off a little bit. Thank you, fresh handshake. Is that what that person's name was? Let me get my my phone out so I can take a picture of any suggestions people send my way. I did go through the suggestions from the last live stream, and some of them were pretty sweet. No plans on reviewing the Fiddlar record right now. It is on my Why You Know review list, though, so I can't say right off the bat. I didn't really care for it, but let me. I didn't hear the new Rico Nasty yet, but most likely it will turn up in the weekly track roundup. After your year-end list, what albums have been moved from to nine? I mean, no albums on the year-end list have been moved as of right now. No movements on the year-end list. Any movements that were on the year-end list turned up on the year-end list. The year-end list has not changed since the year-end list. What am I most excited about for tour? Just meeting the people who come out and just seeing the crowds and seeing everybody so happy and excited is mostly what I'm excited about. That's kind of what I'm going to be hype about, honestly and personally and honestly. But yeah, if you guys didn't know, I'm doing a West Coast tour in May, doing a Canadian date, doing a bunch of Cali dates, Seattle, Portland. So be there. I saw you change the description for Speeding Bullet to Heaven. Tell us why. Which part of the description did I change? That might have been something that Austin did. If there was a change in it, in terms of like, was it a typo or something? I don't know what it was, and I don't know what it was changed to. You'd have to send in another message, sort of like explaining more as to why. I don't remember exactly what it was and what it changed to. It could have been something, maybe there was a mistake, or I don't remember off the top of my head. I was thinking about getting into Jay-Z. Is Mike right about him being overrated? Do you have a favorite project from him? I think Jay-Z has quite a few good projects, actually. Like, The Blueprint is great. Fucking Black Album is fantastic. Reasonable Doubt, I will agree, is kind of overrated. You know, but I mean, Blueprint and Black Album are both great. You know, don't let Mike Seatown prevent you from checking out those records, because they are really good records. Thoughts on Giz, Cy Boogie, Love You? I've not heard that, so I cannot comment. So I apologize. The Pirate Zors, or the Pirate Zors, I don't know enough to comment. What's up, Anthony? What did I think about Dallas bands like Doma Kids, Sad Cops? I think I heard Sad Cops and thought they were just okay, but I have not heard Doma Kids, so I'll just sort of plop that into my phone, I guess, but I've not heard the Doma Kid. Have I ever tried emulating Thundercat's bass style? I have not, but you know, maybe if I get bored one day and I really am feeling ambitious, then I'll try to learn a Thundercat line or two. Do I think that Double XL would introduce the idea of bringing alternative rap artists such as Zillakami and Scarlord for the freshman cipher, as they have done big numbers on YouTube streaming and so on and so forth. I don't think Double XL would necessarily be against bringing artists like that into the fold. Honestly, if he got enough attention and got enough hype, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like even JPEG Mafia, end up on a Double XL freshman list. But it just has to sort of get some play within the hip hop community, though. You know what I mean? Because Double XL does cater to a certain type of music fan, and if those artists can kind of transcend into the same fan bases that people like 21 Savage love, then I could see I see no reason why those artists wouldn't couldn't potentially make it on a freshman list. Hey Melon Man, when it comes to artists with established discographies like Radiohead, Talking Heads, or Outkast, should I start with their best album or from the beginning? I would say with Radiohead, I would actually say with both artists, it might be easier. No, with Outkast, I think it's easier to start from the first. With Radiohead, I don't really prefer their early records to their latest shit, so I would maybe do their classic stuff. But Outkast is consistently great throughout their entire discography, honestly. So I think Outkast, yes. Radiohead, maybe even start with OK Computer first, or Kid A. Aside from Dark Side of the Moon, which other projects, which are highly acclaimed, do I find to be overrated? I think Radiohead in general is just like a tad bit overrated. I don't think they're like the greatest band of all time. And if you look at music aggregator review sites like Rate Your Music, they would lead you to believe that that's the case. And I just don't feel that way personally. So I mean, while I do love Radiohead, I don't think they're like the greatest band of all time. Other groups or artists that I feel the same way about, maybe Tool as well. I do love Tool. I think their discography is really solid. But I don't think they're as progressive and as unique as maybe some people make them out to be. I mean, they do a great job of taking, the usual alternative metal tropes and working a lot of strange and mystical and progressive elements into it. But I think as far as like prog metal, they're way more interesting and sort of progressive artists out there. But, Tool and Radiohead sit at an interesting point in popular music history where they have this incredible amount of accessibility, but they're also doing artsy and sort of progressive things with their music that not everybody is sort of exposed to, or at least they become like the entryway point to, you know what I mean? So they do gather a lot of influence, and they do sort of open people up to a lot of ideas. And when your music or your content, whatever content you make, does that, you do tend to create fans or create a fan base that, kind of ride or die for you. What did I think of the new Street Sex album? Didn't care for the vocals at all. I thought they were so unbearable that I couldn't really enjoy the album, even though I did like some of the instrumental shifts of the record. Why didn't I come to Illinois or Wisconsin on my tour at any point? Because I'm not doing a Midwest tour as far as the Illinois date goes, but I will be doing a Midwest tour at some point. I can only tour for so many days at a time because I still have to run the needle drop. You know what I mean? So I can't just like do a whole month of no content just to tour. Hey, Melon, did I get a chance to check out the new Rockhound Tours tracks that dropped around Christmas? I did not. I wasn't really listening to much new tracks around Christmas. Given your response to Jack's latest solo record, am I excited for a new Rockhound Tours album? Potentially. I guess it would depend on whether or not they're doing anything interesting on the new record, which I've never really known the Rockhound Tours to sort of like be all that adventurous musically. But, it could be good. It could be good. The most popular radio station in Australia said Sicko Mode is today's Bohemian Rhapsody, and all the hipsters and boomers were outraged to a large extent. Is this a fair comparison in your opinion? Wasn't that Triple J? People were telling me that they played a clip of me saying that. And it's pretty funny that outraged a lot of people. I said that, and I sort of embraced that statement a little bit ironically. But I mean, as far as like popular hip hop songs go with a lot of crazy transitions and sections and stuff, I mean, Sicko Mode is it, you know what I mean? So in a way, it does kind of, resemble that of Bohemian Rhapsody. Shout out to Dr. Shags, Canadian YouTuber, also say yes. Also, yes, I did pay $15 to shout out Dr. Shags. I have no idea who the hell Dr. Shags is. I'll have to take a picture on my phone and check out Dr. Shags later. You seem a little bummed out today, my dude. Maybe you should go get your vegan juice and soy milk so you can be juicy for us, please. Thanks. I'm getting to the point where maybe I might get a little thirsty in the next half hour, so I'm gonna need to probably run and get a little water. But I'm not bummed out today. I think I got work started a little bit later than I wanted to. Wanted to get the Boogie review out earlier. Wanted to get the stream started earlier. But things happen at the pace that they do. Sometimes you got to go with the flow and just roll with the punches and do what you can in the amount of time that you have. So, I'm doing fine. I got it together today. So, what are my personal opinions on Paul Weller? I don't think I really know enough about Paul Weller to comment, so I'm just going to pop that in my phone, honestly. But honestly, not enough knowledge of Paul Weller in my head to really comment to any extent. Do I think Father John Misty is the best songwriter of this decade? I don't know about this decade. But I mean, he's certainly one of the better ones, I guess. And I guess I didn't mean to say about this decade. I mean, the best. Is he the best of this decade? Yeah, I don't know about that. I would have to really think about it. I mean, not that I think he would be that far away from it, given that I did give the dude Album of the Year, and I love Honey Bear, and I frickin' love dark comedy, and his new record is pretty good too. But I don't know. I'd have to think more about it. I think maybe a little bit. I do prefer Phil Elverum's work, even if maybe Crow looked at me as amazing, but I think a lot of his older work I do prefer a little bit more, but still, I digress. Where does Prince rank among the best guitarists of all time? He's definitely up there. I mean, Prince, a lot of people don't really appreciate his guitar talents and just really his multi-instrumentalist talents all around. Dude was just like amazing at everything, and that's not to say that he was a god or didn't have personal problems. He obviously did. But when it comes to music, the dude was a phenom. And as far as like best guitarists, I don't know. I've heard some rough Prince solos and sort of like seen some rough live clips here and there that were just like, okay. That infamous clip where he tries to show up Michael Jackson is kind of rough. But dude was a really great guitar player, no doubt. Moving on from there. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, frick YouTube. No. Okay, here we go. Best Arctic Monkeys album, the first one. So it seems like trap has been mainstream for quite a while now, since about early 2010. Well, no, it hasn't been mainstream since 2010. Like it had a following and it was popular and it was, turning out some big records and singles in 2010, but it wasn't like all over the Billboard charts to the point where it was just like dominating the top 40. Okay. Like it was there. It existed. It had some popular tracks and records. Flockavelli was obviously turning heads, but it was not like dominating like it has been over the past few years. Does it seem, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. Do I think it's growing, peaking, meeting its decline? I think we're at the point where it is peaking and has peaked. I mean, once you're basically dominating most of the top 40, pop artists are ripping off your sound to incorporate into their records. They're bringing the rappers from these genres onto their records to get more clout and attention. These artists are beating out pop stars and, typically more popular artists and songwriters in the charts. You're at the top of the mountain. There's nowhere to go but down from there. I don't know where trap can really go from there outside of collectively starting a multi-billion-dollar corporation and buying out all the music labels and then just basically giving us nothing but trap music forever. But once you're at the top of the mountain, which trap is right now at this moment, there's nowhere to go but down at that point. So, we're just kind of sitting and waiting for another thing to replace it, and not to say that it's going to be, when it does get replaced, it's going to be something totally different. As of right now, hip hop is the zeitgeist. I'll say it again for the millionth time. It could just be another wave or trend or shade within hip hop. You know what I mean? So, things are going to change eventually, and we'll see how they do. The Super Bowl is in my city, the ATL. They hit up Big Boy for the halftime show, which is great, but most halftime shows are complete garbage. Who would I like to see as a Super Bowl act? I just want to see Death Grips get booked for the Super Bowl and then just not show up, and their instruments are there and they're just sitting there and they're not playing them and the stage is empty and everyone's waiting for like a half an hour and, you know, they don't have a backup planned or anything and nothing happens. It's just, you know, they cut to commercial and everyone's unhappy. Any chance I will review Young Lean Side? Yeah, I listened to the Lean Doer project. I thought it was terrible. You know, it's cool that he's branching out stylistically and stuff, but I can't stand it. Any opinion on Viagra Boys? They have a few good tracks on their record. It's a little too all over the place and inconsistent to really be all that good, but they're a pretty decent band. You know, love that track, Sports. Win Butler admitted Everything Now is a bad album. Whoa, did he? I need to look that the fuck up. And if that's the truth, then that is going to be that is going to be a video. Yeah, I got to look that up. Can Arcade Fire rebound to their former glory? I think once you admit what you're doing is bad, you can. You can. How do I feel about JPEG Mafia's Morrissey diss? I think it was harsh. Is someone being an asshole enough to negate the quality of their music? Well, here's the thing. I mean, I don't think JPEG Mafia really cares for Morrissey's music all that much, but I don't think JPEG Mafia would go at Morrissey in the way that he does if Morrissey wasn't an asshole. I think JPEG Mafia doesn't like his music and also doesn't like that he's an asshole. Not just that he doesn't like his music because he's an asshole. And just because somebody makes good music doesn't mean that you shouldn't make fun of them or call them out when they are an asshole. You know what I mean? Just because you make good music doesn't mean that if you're a dickhead, you shouldn't be called a fucking dickhead or a dickwad. Okay. So just to say, oh, you know, someone being an asshole, enough reason to negate their music. Well, I mean, nobody's saying that, you know, or at least they shouldn't be saying that the music is bad because this person's an asshole. You know, but making good music doesn't save you from fucking being called out. You know what I mean? And I don't mean like in a call out culture kind of call out. I just mean in the sense that, you know, anybody can get it. You can be called a dickhead if you make good music, if you're acting like a dickhead. You know, Lord knows that I make the best reviews on the planet and people call me a dickhead all the time. Depeche Mode, worst to best. If I was to do a new wave group, I'd probably do New Order first. So probably not anytime soon. Also, what's your favorite song by Depeche Mode? Personal Jesus. I'm a normie when it comes to Depeche Mode. Honestly, I'm no Depeche Mode expert. You know, I just kind of know the big records. What are my thoughts on Oasis? They're good. You know, they got some good tunes. I think it's sad that you know, the Gallagher brothers couldn't keep it going. It kind of sucks that you know, their you know, brotherly quarrels kind of tore the band apart, because together, even at their weaker moments, I think Oasis had more redeemable qualities than, you know, the Gallagher solo stuff for the most part. So, you know, especially that high flying birds crap. What's my opinion on the band Chastity Belt? I don't really care for them all that much. I think they're kind of underwhelming, frankly. I've recently become obsessed with the Sophisti-Pop style Prefab Sprout, Style Council, and Sade. Do I have any recommendations for significant releases in the genre, maybe even starter pack? I mean, that Destroyer album, Kaput, also that duo Rye, R-H-Y-E, they do some pretty decent Sophisti-Pop stuff. And also check Rate Your Music, for Christ's sakes. They have so many great lists. But I do have to come out with more starter packs, it's true. I do. Hey, Anthony, have you listened to any Blood Trench? They're an up-and-coming metal. No, I haven't, honestly, so I'll just pop that in my phone. Blood Trench. Sounds pretty brutal, though. Check out Church and AP Melon, rap duo from NZ. I really like their stuff. Similar sound to Brock and Injury Reserve. Okay. All right, I'll pop that in here. Church and AP. Huh? Oh, first off, let me give Hunter Mauk for the 20. Ow! And also ATL Jesse Adams. Ow! Sorry, I forgot to give you guys the ows. Moving on from there. Jordan. Ow! Hey, Anthony, have I heard the new Lost Boys Syndicate EP yet? I know they have a track with Issa Gold of the Underachievers. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Let me pop it in my phone and give it a shot. Try to make some time for it. Have I heard, or do I plan to review the new Fiddlar album? I don't really care for it all that much, honestly. I do have it on my Why You Know review list, though, so expect to hear some more thoughts from me there, but I will say in brief right here, I do admire that they're really trying to change things up and bring in all of these elements of hip hop and pop music and even a little bit of country, I guess, and just kind of going all over the place. Kind of reminds me of some great 90s artists from back in the day, like Beck, or in a way even Kid Rock to an extent. But I think it's kind of an inconsistent record. Some songs are really unique and catchy and fun. Some tracks are really bland and uneventful. Other more adventurous spots on the record go totally haywire and are not that pleasurable. So it's really all over the place, but I do admire the effort in a way. I do admire it's easily their riskiest record yet. Missed the question last time. Sorry about that. Just wondering if I had any thoughts on Clario's EP Diary 001. Any other music she's put out? Thanks, Melon. Yeah, I mean, as far as bedroom pop goes, I think she's okay. I don't really mind her music all that much. I think she's got a few cute singles that are worth listening to. I guess I'm just kind of waiting until she comes out with a full-length album to make a larger and a longer comment on what she's doing. But overall, I don't mind her stuff. Do I have any favorite Tiny Desk performances? Yes. T-Pain and Thundercat are probably two of my favorites. Those are both pretty great. Hello, Mr. Fantano. I just wanted to thank you for being an the musical journeyman. I just started reviewing music on my channel as well in general. Do I have any advice on running a YouTube channel? If you're going to be doing music reviews or any kind of content that relies on any sort of guruism or expertise, or where you're sort of engaging people on very recent topics on a regular basis, almost like you're a news organization or something, it's as quality as you can make it, and consistency. Get a routine going so you're always engaging your audience with another piece of content. Daddy Fantano, I can't make up my mind if I like Little Ugly Mane or not, so I need you to do it for me. Is he worth my time? Yes. Do not sleep on Little Ugly Mane. Do not make the same mistake I did. I do think Mr. Thug Isolation, it's an okay record, but the more experimental shit he came out with afterwards and sort of released on Bandcamp and all that shit is actually really good. Do not sleep on Little Ugly Man. The Little Ugly Mr. Ugly Man. Where in the heckety heck is the Death Grips worst to best? Right now, Austin and I are conceiving a Weezer worst to best. We think that's going to be the next worst to best. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe after that, one day we can do a Death Grips worst to best. Though I'm not really sure why people are asking for it, as you can pretty much take all of my Death Grips reviews and orient them in a way, I guess, but maybe not, because there are a lot of 9s that I've given out. So, worst to best should probably happen at some point. Plant Gang. Oh, I'm so fucking pissed off. I have not gotten my goddamn Piranha Plant fucking email yet, and I cannot play fucking Piranha Plant. I really want to play Piranha Plant. He seems like a cool ledge trapper, but I can't play any fucking Piranha Plant because I don't have the fucking email, so I'm fucking pissed. So don't remind me that I don't have Piranha Plant. Okay, don't send me $100 super chat reminding me that I don't have Piranha Plant right now, okay? Thoughts on soundtracks for the blind, better or worse than To Be Kind? Also heard anything by Fela Kuti. Yeah, I mean, some of his like expensive shit stuff and some of his bigger Afrobeat records are pretty fantastic. The thing about soundtracks to the blind and To Be Kind, soundtracks is definitely a more varied and a more adventurous and a weirder and a more genuinely experimental record, in that a lot of the shit on that album is groundbreaking. It's totally out there. Swans most likely had no fucking clue what they were doing, how it was going to pan out, like what exactly it would mean long term for rock and art at large. To Be Kind, by comparison, is much more hard-hitting, consistent, feels like a more holistic experience. I think personally I prefer To Be Kind a little bit to it. Have I heard Shaky Graves' album Can't Wake Up? I have heard Shaky Graves before, and I don't think I care for them, but I'm going to give it another shot. Based on your recommendation over here, because I can't exactly recall what about their music I didn't care for all that much. Thoughts on Deicide? Classic death metal fucking band. They just don't do it like they used to, though. Hey, Melon Man. Did I get your Smash update email? Yeah, I didn't. and I'm so fucking pissed about it. I know I just said it a little while ago, but I am pissed about it. I have not gotten my email, checked my promotions, checked my spam. I searched Super Smash Brothers. I searched Nintendo. I looked through all of my email inboxes attached to the account that I'm, doing my Switch with, and I'm not getting anything, and it's pissing me off. And I'm just sort of wondering, can I even buy Piranha Plant at this point? Because I'm so fucking desperate, and I just love Smash so much. I would just like to fucking play him. I'm just so pissed about not having the email. Wow. Ow! 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 Wow, this, thank you very much. This generous send-in of $50. Here's a 50 bomb. I just wanted to say thank you. You got me hooked on Little Peep when I saw your worst albums of 2016 list, and I decided to check them out. Helped me out a lot. That's actually really funny because there are a lot of people who do tell me over the years that, like, dude, even a guy was telling me, a YouTuber was telling me that, hey man, you turned me on to Blade, dude. And I was like, I did, but I hate that record. I gave it such a horrible review, and it was just like, nah, man, it doesn't matter, man. I found out about him through you, and I love him, and he's the best. And I said, okay, as long as you came away from it liking it, if you get something out of something that I don't, at the end of the day, that's a win. And Person Pitch is not fucking better than Meriwether Post Pavilion. I'm not going to take that slander in this fucking chat. Do not say that shit. Why do I give Cardi B props when she sounds like a dumb toddler when she raps? Overproduced. It doesn't write a word. Gets by on personality. Undeserved melon. Quit thinking with your seeds, peen big boy. I mean, honestly, as far as like sexy goes, I did find that picture that Cardi B dropped, those like GIFs to be kind of hot. But frankly, I don't really find Cardi B all that sexy. She's not really my type. I'm much more of like it's like my type. I'm much more like a Janelle Monáe type. She's like very smart and classy and witty and very entertaining, talented, entertaining person with wonderful characteristics. And that Cardi B is not really that attraction is not really there for me personally to Cardi B as far as like celebrity crushes goes. But Cardi B does have a lot of personality, and I do think her music is very fun, and your comment is overly dismissive and stupid. Cardi B is not the only person out here who is not writing their own shit. A lot of rappers out here topping the charts, not writing their own shit. A lot of songwriters out there topping the charts that are not writing their own shit. Why should Cardi B be held to a standard that nobody else is being held to? I don't think she sounds like a toddler. I think she sounds like a fucking woman from New York. Gets by in personality, as do a lot of other rappers do. Drake gets by in personality. You think Drake is in the position that he's in because he's like the most talented rapper out there? Get the fuck out of my face. Quit thinking with my seeds, big peen boy. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, at least you said my peen is big. Or my peen, and I'm a big boy. So if I'm a big boy, maybe I got a big peen. How should I go about mustering up the Twitter clout to get to your reviewing your music segment? I don't review people's music on reviewing your music based on Twitter clout. So you just got to throw your music out there and just hopefully you get picked by the luck of the draw. Hey, Melon, what do I think of the Icelandic band Sigur Rós? I think they had their time in the sun. But as far as like, post-rock bands go, I think they're like a nice B-level band, like a nice B-plus level. Not my favorite post-rock band or anything like that. But I do think their music is pretty compelling and pretty unique as well. Not like a Godspeed, in my opinion, or anything like that, but a solid post-rock band. Oh wait, let me. I don't know what the USD value of this is, but still, let me say, ow, ow, James Marshall. Have I taken Nail's suggestion on board about not spending much time 5 out of 10ing, not gooding smaller artists like Twitching Tongues, da 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 da. I mean, no, honestly, like if I think your music sucks, and here's the thing. I didn't really take Twitching Tongues as being like a smaller band or anything like that because they were getting a pretty huge PR push around the time that I decided to review the record. And maybe if I had decided to review the album or just listen to the album purely on my own, maybe I wouldn't have reviewed it, and I would have given it like more of a, would have put it in the Why You Know review or something like that. But here's the thing. I had pre-planned to review that album with Mike Seatown, because we had both heard people talking about the record, and I said, let's give it a listen. And by that time we had already like sort of like put it in our schedules. We're going to be doing this collaborative review. And, so we both showed up, and I thought I didn't like the record at all. And I was afraid, Mike was going to like it. And so then we start the review, and then I'm asking him about what he thinks. And then it was like, holy shit, you didn't like it? I didn't like it either. I didn't think we were both going to dislike it. I thought you might have liked it. And, we just figured, well, we're already here. We're already talking about the record. So, let's just give it a shot. Honestly, like I heard a bit of music from it that I liked. I knew there was a Nails connection going into the album. I thought I was going to love the fucking thing, but I just ended up not liking it. And who gives a shit? I mean, if you're an obscure artist and I decide to review your music, I don't see why you should be, treated with kids' gloves or anything. Obviously I don't try to go out of my way to attack the music of people who are like making demos. And obviously it's not like, studio quality and everything. But I think there were a lot of things about that Twitching Tongues record that could have legitimately been improved. But I digress. But no, I mean, I will say that I probably am focusing a bit more on popular artists as of late. And, I think that's just because I'm in a position where I do have a lot of people watching, and there are a lot of demands for me to cover a lot of different artists who are gathering the most attention in whatever their respective lanes are. And I do try to do my best to find more, favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers is probably, Sex Magic. But I do try to do my best to find more obscure shit throughout the year, blow up artists that maybe don't have as large a following, which again, I do every year, and I plan on continuing with that trend in 2019. And, and I love the fucking review your music segment, which we will continue to do throughout the year as well. So I know you gave Red Light a 1, but do I like any releases or singles from Blade? No. As of this point, no, not really. I got to hop on a joint review with the one and only Black Eric Foreman himself, Sean C. Would love to hear you two converse over a project we did a while ago, but we should probably collaborate again in 2019 at some point. And thoughts on the Fever 333 record. I did a quick little Why You Know review reaction to the record. Ow! Nick, thank you for the 20. Last week on my Twitter page, on my Instagram page, and that little reaction will be popping up in the next Why You Know review. Not that crazy about the record personally. Sort of feels like it's taking off of a lot of the rap rock and Linkin Park stuff of the 2000s, but not nearly as entertaining or as well executed as I've heard some people who are trying to sort of bring that sound back. I know I'm talking at a million miles an hour, but I'm trying to get through all these. I don't want to miss one. Do I have a favorite track from Bowie's Low album? Off the top of my head, not really, honestly. But I do think I prefer Station to Station to Low as far as like that era of Bowie goes. Fucking Golden Years is the jam. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. He read a lot of books, went apple picking, had a nice long walks. RT, if you can't wait for October, what's my favorite month, season, Melly? My favorite season is actually the fall, but given that we're in the dead of winter right now, I'm looking forward to spring and summer. And ow, because I know that's not your first donation. Will I ever give albums from bands like Chon and Covet? Will I ever review their albums, or is math rock just not really my thing? I'm not against math rock. I think I'm kind of picky with it. I mean, obviously, I don't really mind the band Polyphia. I loved their last record. Math rock's just not really a focus for me personally. I don't usually dip into it unless it's something that really kind of gets me going and gets me excited. Though I'm not entirely against reviewing like an album from Chon or something like that. And maybe I should probably cover their next record, given that I did enjoy their input on that Polyphia record. Why do I think In the Aeroplane, or if I didn't already do it, John? Ow! Mr. Big Weenie, very clever. Why? Ow! Why do I think In the Aeroplane Over the Sea manages to make people so emotional despite being melodically simple and lyrically vague? It somehow manages to feel so urgent and important. Keep grinding. By the way, cheers from Toronto. You got to check my review for the record, but honestly, like, I think the melodies are simple, but they're really catchy and compelling. But I think it's more to do with the delivery method, the aggressive and lo-fi, and exciting instrumentation, and Jeff's singing is fantastic, and it kind of has this old, archaic, almost like Irish folky quality to it. And the lyrics, while they are vague, the imagery of them is really sticky and strange and weird. You know, like even though the lyrics, the story of them, or what Jeff means all the time isn't super apparent, what he actually says is so surreal and weird that it's just kind of, you know, buries itself into the back of your head. Those are at least a few reasons that I think, you know, it's caught on. Any specific Johnny Cash records I would recommend besides Live at Folsom Prison? Also, where would I rank Filth amongst the Swans discography? Probably somewhere in like at least the top 5 or 6. It's a pretty good record. As far as like Johnny Cash records that are not Folsom Prison, I don't own any Johnny Cash vinyl outside of Folsom Prison. Like most of the Johnny Cash vinyl that I own that's not Folsom Prison, or all of the Johnny Cash vinyl that I own that is not Folsom Prison, is just his singles, you know? So I don't really have any other Johnny Cash LPs outside of his big singles, you know, Man in Black and Ring of Fire and some of his, you know, other 60s or 70s stuff. But outside of that, I just have Johnny Cash singles, frankly. So yeah, honestly. So not that you shouldn't listen to any other Johnny Cash albums. I mean, I think if you're going to go to any other records of his that I at least have owned in the past, I've had a few copies of his records in the American series. Maybe I would just go to his American records that he produced with Rick Rubin. You know, that whole series is actually really consistent and amazing, even the 90s stuff that he did with him. Some people don't really appreciate or understand just like how long of a span of time through which that, you know, series came together, but maybe from Folsom go to his American series. Do I think there's a connection or a missing link between house music and jazz fusion? Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe not jazz fusion. I mean, jazz in general. I mean, a lot of that Chicago house stuff, some of the piano riffs and progressions that would turn up in those songs were jazz influenced. So yeah, there's a connection to jazz in that respect, at least. I mean, I'm sure there might be other, you know, subtle influences that might be working their way in there. But that's probably the most obvious one. A lot of similarities in terms of phrasing. Yeah, you're talking about the melodies and everything. Yeah, but I mean, those phrasings come from jazz originally. So, I mean, there's definitely a jazz connection when it comes to house. Yes, yes, yes. Ow! Shouldn't we, or since we couldn't be flies on your wall, what did I think about NDNI? Would love to know. Yeah, I thought the production was really strange, and when you sort of sold it as like a hip-hop duo, I didn't really quite, I guess, anticipate that that's what it was going to sound like, because it did have some weird, spacey, almost like kind of sing-songy pop elements to it, and not in the way that I think a lot of people expect hip-hop to be melodic today, like a lot of these trap rappers or trap, you know, auto crooners and that sort of thing. You guys are definitely on to something different. If you guys want to check out a duo who's doing something kind of interesting and off the beaten path in hip-hop music, NDNI, do look them up. They are doing something kind of strange. Low on Money Melon, sorry, but excited to hear about Weezer, by the way. Do I think Black Album will be basically Pacific Daydream 2? No, I think the Black Album is going to be far better than Pacific Daydream, honestly. Going back, Michael Eddy. Ow! Thank you so much for your fucking generosity, dude. Got that one. Hi, Mr. Fantano. Hope you're doing well. You checked out some of our music last year around this time and was wondering if you'd be okay with me sending over our newest single, Mind, your thoughts and opinions. The Sedona's Mind. Okay, I'll pop that in my phone. I'll look it up. But if you really want to send it to me directly, you can always throw it to me on Twitter. Michael Eddy, again, thank you. Patrick, have I heard of Maggie Rogers? I have heard of Maggie Rogers. I am honestly not a gigantic Maggie Rogers fan so far, but I am considering reviewing her album this coming week. So, you know, I guess stay tuned for that. Many others have said this, but I would love to see your Elliott Smith classic review, or maybe even a worst to best. I think a self-titled Elliott Smith classic review would definitely be in order at some point. How do I clean my vinyl records? Also, Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil should be in Smash. Ow! I mean, generally, I just try to get, you know, one of those fucking... hold on a second. Let me get this next question over here loaded so I don't miss it. But I try to be very careful with my records so they don't get dirty or anything like that. But if they do get some dust and crap and on them and stuff like that, just get one of these disc washers. One of these like vinyl brushes. And some of them come with like a formula or something that you can kind of put on there if you want to clean it extra. And it's just like a very soft, velvety thing that kind of picks up, dust and grime and that sort of thing. One of these like vinyl brushes, these disc washer vinyl brushes. I've had this one for fucking well over like a decade at this point, and it still does the job. Just invest in a good one. You don't have to buy another one. Why did I become a democratic socialist? Spreading wealth does not create wealth. Yeah, that's just like a really silly dichotomy. It's sort of like a false choice. Like, we have to create wealth for billionaires because if we don't, then nobody else will have wealth. I mean, look, here's the thing. Like, I sympathize with some points in the Democratic Socialist Party line, but I think America would be a lot better if we went back to the tax brackets and, the tax percentages that we had throughout the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, which historically have been the most successful points in American history as far as growth and for the entire country to be sharing in that growth. Look, here's the thing. Like, creating wealth is not really a big deal if that wealth is going to the top 10th of the top 1%. Like, who gives a fuck if you're creating wealth, if it's only going to those people and then you're just throwing them tons of tax breaks? Instead, that money should be going to the rest of us, even if we end up creating less wealth overall. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's cool that you donated and everything, but I feel like it's kind of embarrassing that you've paid $10 and you're not a billionaire and all you've done here is just stand for fucking billionaires. Billionaires don't give a fuck about you, dude. Billionaires think you're stupid. Billionaires will underpay you just to fucking make another buck, which they don't need. And I don't know what to tell you, man. You just stand for billionaires for no reason. But thank you for being generous. I notice your indifference / distaste of a good amount of the Killer's discography. Do I feel as though you may have enjoyed them more if they stuck to their earlier sound or at least another project or two? Yeah, I mean, I enjoy their earlier stuff generally. But still, even though there's like a huge New Order influence on some of that shit, and it is a bit more raw sound. I've never really been a huge Killers guy, just in general. So, but still, Duke. Ow. Hey Melon, your bass playing has given me the motivation to buy a bass and start taking lessons. My question is, who would you say is your biggest influence as a bass player? For me, it's Geddy Lee. Keep on grooving, man. Ow! I mean, I really like a lot of Jocko lines. I like a lot of finger style bass playing. I'm not too much like into the slap stuff, though I do try to practice it here and there because, I like to know it and I like to understand it. He's really great. I think Bobby Vega is also really amazing. Thundercat is also a bass player who I look up to a lot, who I think is really great. His lines and his playing always inspires me. But yeah, those are some of my favorites. And Geddy is great. Geddy is no slouch. And Les Claypool, again, not a huge slap guy, but Les Claypool definitely like changed the game as far as bass playing goes. Hey Melon, Indian Boy again. Have you heard the John McLaughlin Zakir Hussain collab? Remember Schottky Views? Yes, I did look up the Schottky on Discogs, and it was really cool. I loved the fusion of, all these different musical elements from around the world, and I meant to buy it, but I didn't actually end up doing so. And thanks for the reminder, because I actually should go on Discogs and fucking get that record, because it's fucking awesome. From what I heard of it on YouTube anyway. Thank you very much, Nick. Ow! My head hurts. Little Dicky genuinely makes me wince. My friends love him. Favorite Scorsese movie. I mean, the Godfather trilogy just fucking, hey. And also, didn't he do Taxi Driver? I fucking love Taxi Driver. If you don't have one, name your favorite crime director drama. Look up to you. Don't look up to me. I'm a dickhead, dude. I'm a dickhead. Tony Strange, thank you. Ow! I know you've been reviewing actual music in the community, but would I ever consider critiquing reviewing someone's own analysis of music through DM email? John Petit. Ow! I mean, possibly. Possibly. I mean, I've had some people send me their own reviews before, and it's like, hey, what do you think of this? And sometimes I have an answer, sometimes I don't. Reviewing other people's reviews is tough. because I'm not like an English major. I'm not like I only communicate in the way that I do because it's just the way that feels natural to communicate for me. And I feel like at the end of the day, all I could really teach people to do is review the way that I review. And maybe that's not the best maybe that's not the best methodology. But possibly Anthony@theneedledrop.com is my email. Maybe I'll take a look if you can hit me up and I see it. What's the best advice you can give boys, men who initially experience a dilemma between security in their masculinity and embracing feminism? I think, just sort of realizing that it's not like a threat to you. And as long as you're just like a cool person who respects and loves all people, women trying to sort of gain more equity in our system and in the social sphere is not an attack on you, and listen, I mean, I get that it's I get that it's annoying and obnoxious, to go on Twitter and see some circles of feminism with all the man hating and blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing, for every one of those annoying, loud, squeaky wheels that are totally unreasonable and, hate you for no reason, there's countless other women who actually are reasonable and just want to live a decent life where, they just get the same treatment as everybody else. So, I mean, and look, not to sort of buy completely into, the second class citizen, narrative that some more extreme wings of feminism kind of pushes. But, I do think there are grave inequities in our society today when it comes between the differences of men and women in America at the moment. Maybe a majority of them are more subtle or, work in less obvious ways. We're not talking about women not having the right to vote or anything like that. But, just realize that feminism doesn't exist to get you, you know what I mean? Feminism's purpose and its function is not to attack you or kill you. And, while there are, again, unreasonable and ridiculous people who do sort of sympathize with that ideology or that movement, that's kind of the case for everything. There's not really any socio or political movement on the planet that does not have some total morons who are ideological or sort of intellectually bankrupt losers who will sort of push their point of view, in such a way where it's kind of like at all costs, or I guess the phrasing I'm looking for is by any means necessary, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Hey, Anthony Glass Tano. Ow! Have I ever listened to the band Dayshell? No, I have not. I'm not familiar with the band Dayshell. I hope if I look them up on YouTube, after putting them in my phone, they'll just come up immediately. If not, I'm not sure. Also, am I going to tour in the East? I could see some more East Coast tour dates coming at some point later in the year if I get some free time on my plate. Yes. I'm not saying you have to review the new Jerome's Dream, but at least listen to their older stuff because it makes the most beautiful rock music ever made. Okay, I'll think about that. S. Thank you for your generosity. S. Jerome's Dream. I can't say I've ever heard of Jerome's Dream. Highly recommended 3 rappers: Josh A, I Am Jake Hill, and Jarv. Jarv, in my opinion, is highly underrated. Okay, I can't say I've heard of any of those people, especially I Am Jake Hill. Sort of seems like a name that I might see, or I might have remembered if I saw it because it was kind of formatted weird. Favorite tracks on Bring Me the Horizons, That's the Spirit. I didn't really care for that record too much, and I haven't dived that deeply into it since, I kind of talked about it, I think, in a Why You Know review. You mentioned you thought it was decent. I mentioned that I should have given it, probably more consideration. I didn't really, consider it, since my review. I was just merely saying that I should have given it more consideration, given that I enjoyed their foray or their transition into pop music on this record. I probably should have paid more attention to that record because, that they obviously kind of laid the groundwork for this record over here. And I do like some elements of it, is basically the point I was trying to make. I need motivation to get me back on being vegetarian, vegan again. Got any words of wisdom in store? Also, what are some of your favorite novels? Anthony@theneedledrop.com is my email, and I will send you my vegan primer. that I have written myself, where I just kind of like lay out all my vegan advice and stuff like that. But you got to stay balanced. You have to eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and grains and nuts and seeds, so you're not getting bored with what you're eating and you're staying satiated. And, you just got to plan it out, dude. You can't just fucking wing it, especially when you're kind of getting into it. You really have to kind of like treat it as if you're practicing something. You know what I mean? Because society doesn't teach you to be vegan. You've got to figure it out for yourself. And everybody's sort of nutritional needs are a little bit different. Not wildly different, but a little bit different. And, the what makes you happy as far as a balanced diet may not necessarily work for me. You know what I mean? As far as like food preferences and stuff like that. But there's a wide array of foods out there that provide us the plant-based foods out there that provide us the vitamins and minerals that we need. So, it's just kind of a matter of getting ambitious and, planning and listing and, doing some meal plans that you think you could eat regularly and be happy with. You got to plan it out. You got to think about it. You got to put some forethought into it. I'm torn between wanting to listen to the top albums of the last few years and tearing through random rate your music lists. What album should I listen to like right now? Of the past, look, if you want to know what albums you should listen to from the past few years, check my best albums of the year list, dude. But I mean, off the top of my head, like JPEG Mafia Veteran, the last two Rosalia records, fucking Clarence Clarity, Injury Reserve, Brockhampton, listen to that shit. Rina Sawayama, her EP. Hey Melon, ow! I saw, Hey Melon, I was on the Australian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's cool. Did you win $1 million? I dropped a sick rap for the viewers to be sure to check it out. It will air on March 6th at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well, you're giving a Lockie, dude. You gave last time. Well, I mean, if you're giving a 20, you probably won the $1 million. Lockie must have won the $1 million, dude. So that's pretty fucking cool. Lockie's over here just throwing down a 20 spot because he won that $1 million. What's my opinion on hardcore and also opinion on Knocked Loose? Not a big Knocked Loose guy, but I mean, are we talking like hardcore punk, like old school shit, like, Dead Kennedys and fucking Fear and Black Flag? Or are we talking like, more the hardcore that kind of eventually gave way to metalcore, the fucking Minor Threat shit, and then Earth Crisis and fucking, Cro-Mags and Converge and Botch and Integrity, because I like that stuff. I think it's all cool. Own quite a few records in that genre. Definitely check out Finn McKenty on YouTube if you haven't. The dude has this channel called the Punk Rock MBA, and it's pretty great. He does a lot of videos about hardcore and metalcore. And if you do subscribe to his channel, tell him Anthony Fantano sent you. What do I think of King Princess? Pussy is God is a fun song. I think I've heard of this band before, but I can't recall what their sound is, so I'm just going to pop it in my phone. Man. There's been a ton of shade throw. I'm giving you the ow because you did the 20. Thank you. Ow. There's been a ton of shade throw Travis Scott's way because people claim he totally ripped off A$AP Rocky's style. Do I think the hate is warranted? P.S. Can't wait to see you in Vancouver. No. Travis Scott is not a fucking A$AP Rocky ripoff at all. I mean, if you listen to Travis Scott's early stuff, who he's ripping off is like Kid Cudi, Kanye West, some other shit as well. I've never really read A$AP Rocky as like a major fucking Travis Scott influence. Like, no, I don't think that's the case. I don't know who's saying that. I mean, Travis Scott is a guy who I think does listen to his contemporaries. It's possible, maybe even probable, that he listens to A$AP Rocky, probably enjoys some of his stuff. But I don't really take Travis Scott as like a dude who's ripping off A$AP Rocky's style, because some of his best tracks, like there's not really a single track off Rodeo I would say sounds like A$AP Rocky. And the psychedelic approach to hip hop that A$AP Rocky has taken, the whole Clams Casino aesthetic, the Clams Casino vibe, is very different than the Travis Scott vibe. Like the Travis Scott vibe is more luscious, it's denser, there's more auto-tune, there's more warped sounds. The A$AP Rocky Clams Casino vibe is more spacey, way more atmosphere and delays and reverb and that sort of thing. So I sort of see them as two different ways of kind of skinning a cat. Anthony, I would love to know how you felt about the latest Underachievers album since I didn't review it. I thought it was bland, honestly. Thought it was uninteresting. Probably even more uninteresting than their last record, which I didn't really care for that much. Yeah, it's sad that I didn't really have enough feelings about it to really dive into it, but I just did not. I just didn't have any feelings for it, frankly. Melon, you're right that I was dismissive. I just automatically think of / feel for Nikki because I find that she really gets the brunt of most people's criticisms when she's clearly more talented. My bad. Well, you know, Nikki, I think, is more talented as far as like a writer, but I think Cardi B is... I think Nikki honestly suffers a lot from... Okay, here's the thing. I will give it to you that Nikki is a better writer and technically a better rapper too, as far as like flow, delivery, that sort of thing. But I think Cardi B displays and expresses a little bit more personal and artistic freedom in her stuff because she didn't come up during a time where you were just like the fucking only game in town as far as like female rappers go. And as a result, I feel like Nikki's career, while she does have good tracks and she does have highlights throughout her discography, unfortunately, like Green Day, I don't think is overrated. I think they're properly rated because I don't feel like that many people think they're the greatest band of all time anyway. Nikki, unfortunately, I think a lot of her records are really focus grouped, like many artists records were during the Bling era. And, you know, sadly, I think that's really starting to make her stuff suffer in comparison with Cardi B, you know, whose new album doesn't feel as all over the place, even though... you know, you do have some tracks where she does kind of go off of the usual trap sound. You know, that whole Latin trap track. I mean, that goes to her roots a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of makes sense. You know, meanwhile, Nicki's records are just really kind of inconsistent as far as like quality and style. They're really just all over the place. The Cardi B record was pretty tight. You know what I mean? It was pretty tight. You know, Cardi B is not the be all end all. You know, I think she's entertaining. You know, I think she's got a lot of personality. I think she's funny during a time in hip hop where personality and being entertaining is really what matters more than anything. If Nikki isn't getting her just due as a result of, you know, her technical abilities, I mean, that's because she's currently in an era where nobody's getting, you know, fucking credit for their technical abilities. You know, I mean, I guess there are some people coming up and some people who are on the more conscious end of things who are, you know, your J. Cole's and your Jids and your Kendricks, but that's just a fraction of what a majority of the hip hop audience is right now, who mostly just like want to hear a fun song. You know, they don't care how the sausage is made. It's, you know, in a way it sucks, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm not really much different as a critic. Sometimes all I want to hear is a fun song too. You know, sometimes all I want to hear is a fun song. And I do think Cardi makes some fun songs. So what is it with you and prog metal bands like Periphery? Yeah, I'm not a Periphery guy. Animals as leaders can barely stand it. Have grooves, catchy melodies, and layered riffs. Yeah, I find the performance quality and the production quality to be so robotic and clean and sanitary. It's like I'm barely even listening to a rock band at that point. I mean, maybe I am warming up to the idea of that a little bit more, given that I did enjoy the Bring Me the Horizon record so much. But the thing is, I was just listening to another overproduced piece of metal music today that totally turned me off. I mean, the Bring Me the Horizon record I see is very much like a modern pop record with some metal riffs and guitars worked in there. You know what I mean? I think there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. I think, and you know, keep in mind, I'm not in love with the Bring Me the Horizon record. There are some tracks in there I think are really good. And there's some rock bands that, you know, sort of like really use their production to suck the soul out of their sound, like fucking the new Fall Out Boy record. And I think a lot of new prog metal bands, they're kind of like guilty of this. You know, it's a bit of a turnoff for me personally. I don't know who Jared Dines is. You know, I mean, I'm sure he's a member of one of these bands, but I wouldn't know him if you pointed him out to me. If you just pointed out to me like a whole lineup of prog metal guys, I wouldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you which one Jared is. So I apologize. PCMO. Ow! Anthony and Nancy Pelosi are Italian American. God, I never thought of that. Nancy Pelosi is Italian, isn't she? Collab confirmed. You're on bass. What instrument does she play? I don't even want to think of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I think she's doing an okay job of just standing her ground on the wall and everything, but I'm not a big Nancy Pelosi guy, you know, because she stood in the way of so many, you know, very great progressive issues over the years, and she's part of the reason the Democratic Party is so in bed with business right now. So not a big Nancy Pelosi guy, but it seems like she's kind of responding to the progressive uprising in the Democratic Party a little bit in a somewhat positive way in some aspects. Pago is garbage, though. Speaking of great bass lines, I found live shows of soul coughing. Oh my God, I haven't thought of soul coughing in so long. On YouTube recently, and they were unbelievably tight. Thoughts on soul coughing? Yeah, I have not. They were kind of cool back in the day when they used to get way more like radio play. But these days, I never really got into them around that time. As far as like bass lines from that era of rock music, I was like huge into Cake. Loved Cake when I was a kid. Used to spend time copying a lot of Cake and Rage Against the Machine bass lines. That was kind of my thing. DJ October, he's back. Hey, wondering what your thoughts are of Anna of the North, and there's a sludge doom band called Hell, who have a trilogy of albums. Hell, 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 Hell. Okay, yeah, I can't say I can comment on any of that. Ow! But I'll look up that sludge band Hell. Hopefully I don't get tied up with all the other metal bands named Hell, but what are you going to do? Why wasn't Lou the Human's new track in the weekly track roundup, dog? How'd I feel about the new direction? Oh, fuck. I shared that track, but I didn't listen to it, and that's why it didn't end up in the roundup. Let me write myself a reminder to listen to it. But if I had heard it, I would have commented on it. So I apologize for not talking about it, but I will talk about it in the next one. Do my opinions on albums change as years go on? Everyone's opinions on albums changes as years go on, unless you limit yourself to new ideas and experiences, and all you do is listen to the fucking music you enjoyed when you were 16 for the rest of your life. Would I rate certain albums higher or lower? Probably, but none that I can really think of off the top of my head. But again, my opinions and my reviews, they're not static. They're not set in stone. Ideas and experiences and points of view evolve, and I think that's especially going to most likely be the case for me as I get older, because I do and I hope to continue to listen to a lot of stuff and sort of just like keep up, with what's interesting. I just did a track review for the Fall Out Boy and Earl song. It's on the Fantano channel, so check it out there after if you're wondering about my thoughts on it. Will I ever come to New York during the year? I'm not sure if I'll be coming down there this year as I was there last year, but I suppose we'll see. Oh, wait, I am coming to Brooklyn Comic Con, so you probably can catch me at Brooklyn Comic Con if you do have a ticket to that or if you're going there. Just wanted to let you know that that I'm listening to this at the shops and getting some shaving cream. That's the ordinary stuff I do while listening to you. Well, Daniel Keeling, I hope you're having a nice time at the shops and getting some shaving cream. Max Strand says, Bill and Warren, have literally saved millions of lives and mitigated the needless suffering of millions more, and also funded non-kill meat. You think you're morally superior because you haven't made as much money? I'm not sure like what exactly the argument is Max is going off of, or if he's arguing at me or if a previous person. I think I'm morally superior because I haven't made as much money. No, I don't think not making as much money doesn't make someone morally superior. I think amassing. Look, here's the thing. In order to amass $1 billion, let's look at this. Let's look at the companies that are owned by billionaires, or sort of accrue these billions of dollars. Look at all the slave labor attached to Apple products. Look at all the garbage in McDonald's food. Look at the fact that Walmart workers have to essentially go on welfare in order to make ends meet because they don't get paid enough at their job, which Amazon and Disney workers also do. It's not that being a billionaire is inherently a bad or an immoral thing, but just miraculously, it must be by pure coincidence, all of these businesses that are making billions of dollars and are attached to billionaires are doing really horrible, immoral things to people in the planet. And also, they shell tons of money to politicians to prevent any legislation from going through that might actually make them treat their workers or the planet or the country fairly, that might actually make them pay their fair share into things like welfare and also Medicare for all and a host of other things that would improve the country, like a Green New Deal, more infrastructure, less wars overseas and all that garbage. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like billionaires are generally like really fucking shitty. And for the most part, a lot of them have come into their wealth or used the wealth generationally from their own families to come into the amount of wealth that they have now. So it's like, the whole self-made billionaire thing, it's a rarity and mostly a myth perpetuated by American propagandists who want you to think that, well, they haven't made all that money because they worked hard. No, they didn't fucking do that. Like, people who fucking clean toilets and fucking, make food and fucking clean out septic tanks and clean up your garbage work fucking hard. And they're not fucking billionaires. Okay, so hard work, just hard work and hard work alone does not make you a billionaire. And, look, here's the thing. Just like you're saying, well, you made less money, that doesn't make you moral. Well, making tons of money doesn't make you fucking moral either. In fact, making tons of money doesn't make you moral or smart. In fact, again, given all this behavior that we have documentation of, it would seem that immoral behavior is what makes you a billionaire. So, I mean, look, if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a fucking duck, it's a fucking duck. So if you need to fucking do all this dickhead behavior in order to amass this amount of money, that honestly you don't really deserve. You only got off the backs of the people who took their time to work for you for sometimes wages that don't even allow them to live a decent life. Fuck you. Fuck you in your shitty business model. You should be taxed properly. America has some of the lowest tax figures of the developed world. I mean, I just retweeted a great statistical tweet from Mr. I think Robert Reich just today, who came out with some interesting figures as far as the money the rich pay into this country. Which if this country wasn't here, if the infrastructure wasn't here, if the people working for them weren't here, they wouldn't have this billion-dollar company. They wouldn't have these billions of dollars. They owe it to their workers to be paying fair taxes and paying into the system and paying their workers properly. Which is why unions are important. We need to get back to a point where workers in these companies are unionizing, because back when America had unions, Americans were paid better wages. It's not that manufacturing jobs are necessarily better. It's that the manufacturing jobs were attached to union labor, and people working those union jobs got benefits. You only needed one income coming into the fucking household. You could have a paid vacation, and you could go out and you didn't have to worry about whether or not a $400 emergency would put you into debt or prevent you from being able to pay your rent. People out here are fucking struggling, and you're out here fucking standing for billionaires like a fucking idiot in my super chats. Thanks for the $33, man. Love you, Melon Boy. You're doing a great job and your opinions matter. Although you need to rest and overall take care of yourself. Can I give us some random life advice? Dude, fucking, sleep. I'm getting better sleep over the past few days, and let me tell you, I'm feeling much better. I don't know what the guy was on about earlier, saying that I was kind of bummed out, but maybe I'm a little less frazzled and more mellowed out because I'm getting better sleep. But I don't think some of you guys know and understand, like, I'm really fucked up on the sleep end. Like, I've been sleeping 3 to 5 hours a night for on average for a long time, long time. And nowadays I'm really fighting hard. It's kind of a belated New Year's resolution to get better sleep. I'm trying to find an equilibrium, because here's the thing. I may stay up and do a lot of extra work and do a lot of extra content and drive myself crazy, but I need to realize the more tired I make myself, the longer it takes me to get done what I got to get done. So if I can do better about getting to sleep at a certain time and get the amount of sleep that I need, and not be sleeping on a shitty mattress, which I was, and I replaced it because I was just getting lazy and not thinking about it. Excuse me. It's not going to take me as much time to get the work done that I got to get done because my brain's fucking functioning. Fuck, marry, kill. Mission of Burma, Wire, Gang of Four, and why? I'm not going to give you the whole fucking story, but I would kill Gang of Four because they have the least impressive discography, even though entertainment is amazing. I would fuck Wire. I would marry Mission of Burma because they're the artsiest and the fartsiest. What do I want the next 4 Smash DLC characters to be? I want Geno, man. I want fucking Geno from fucking Super Mario RPG, and I want Shrek. Melon, there's a Beirut album coming out tomorrow, and I want your inputs. I'm sort of thinking about it. Wait, hold on a second. Ow! 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 I'm sort of thinking about it. It will at least make it into the Why You Know review. I don't know yet. I'm not going to know what I'm going to do with it until I hear the whole thing. So no promises as of right now. I'm not excited or anticipating the album, as I've thought pretty much all the singles leading up to it were just okay or boring. Look, it's not going to be good. How long has it fucking been since Zach Condon's come out with a great record? Like, it's most likely not going to be that like amazing. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I will stand corrected if it blows me away, but I'm not anticipating it. But hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe I'll come in there with low expectations and it'll soar above them. I guess we'll see. Anthony, here's your bi-weekly reminder to check out Bambara. Are there any upcoming performances you want to see? I got Joji, James Blake, Viagra Boys coming up. Hopefully I'll see Earl tomorrow. The dudes from Pete and Pete are doing a podcast recording in my neck of the woods, and I do want to see that. I haven't looked at a show list because usually in Connecticut, good shows are pretty slow during the winter months. But I haven't looked at a show list. I got to look at a show list. I remember you saying a while ago that you liked some Britpop. Fancy any bands and albums in particular? Morning Glory's great. Blur generally is pretty great. But yeah, I mean, those are my two major ones. I'm not like a Britpop expert. I don't know probably a lot of the more obscure bands and that sort of thing. Is Britpop was more of an experience that I liked and enjoyed through high school and through junior high, because it was just blasting on the radio and the bands are really popular and people liked them at the time, but it wasn't necessarily something I continue to follow or enjoy into college or something like that. So far from, Britpop expert or anything like that, but those are the two obvious artists that I enjoy. Hey, Anthony, are there any alternative rock bands that you might give a 10 or close? Just wanted some new alternative rock recommendations. As far as new ones, not really. I mean, as far as like classic ones, I mean, obviously Queens of the Stone Age and that type of shit. But off the top of my head, as far as like newer ones go, not really. So I apologize. But I'll, just for your generosity, I'll give you an ow, ow, ow. Freezing to death in Chicago here. God, stay safe. Get it. Break the space heaters out. Ow, Sam. Freezing to death in Chicago. Are there any collaboration projects you wish would happen that might feasibly occur? For example, I'm waiting for Rico Nasty and Peggy to make an album together with Kenny Beats. I'm hoping Injury Reserve teams up with JPEG Mafia at some point. Honestly, take melatonin, Kami. My Playboy Cardi self-titled, not really, but my wife was having some sleeping issues and she was doing the melatonin for a little bit. And just fucking knocked her the fuck out. Just made her feel really groggy and not that good. And I've tried a few things like Tylenol PM and that sort of shit. But here's the thing. I don't have trouble getting to sleep. When it's time to go to bed or I have time to go to bed, I go to bed. And I'm not this person who tosses and turns and spends hours like, oh, I wish I can get to sleep. No, I'm somebody who is up working or trying to unwind from working. You know what I mean? I just need to make more time for sleeping. It's not so much I need to sleep 8 or I just need to make more time for it and be more scheduled and not be so crazy with, just overworking or just kind of staying up too late and that sort of thing. I need to kind of chill out a little bit and just work smarter, not harder, because that's going to be the only way I become a billionaire. Okay. I need to work smarter, not harder, because I want to join the billionaire class by 2020, so that I can influence the 2020 election. What do I think of There's no 666 in Outer Space? That was an interesting record for Hella. Definitely a change of pace, because it did kind of see them drifting away from the simplistic math experimental style that they had and bringing in more instrumentation and getting a little hooky. There are some cool moments on it, but I could see why fans sort of reacted negatively to it at the time. A lot of reviewers did as well. I don't think it's one of their best records, but as far as like zany, experimental, underground rock music goes of that era, it's not that bad. It's not great for a Hella record, but, as far as that group of bands coming out of, The Smell and Lightning Bolt and all that weird shit that it was going on the East Coast and West Coast in the 2000s, it's not that bad. Why don't I review Rings of Saturn? I generally think their music is just too fucking overproduced, and there's just way too much going on. That's just like, it's like I'm just listening to a drum machine and just all these like disgustingly computerized riffs, and it's layered so annoyingly. And as far as, I like my death metal to be a little bit more brutal, and I just don't find them to be all that brutal. It's just a little too. It just feels like it's just trying too much. It's trying too hard. Just doing too much. Could I review their next album, please? Also, can I check out artists like Lotic, Organectomy, and Sweet Valley? I want my opinion. I think I know Sweet Valley. Aren't they connected to Nathan from Waves? Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe I'll sort of think about the next Rings of Saturn album. But I've never really been a big fan of the band. But I should always probably do a periodic check-in. You never know when somebody's going to wow me. Like I said, I enjoyed quite a bit of the Bring Me the Horizon album. Do I know and like Rich Homie Quan? Yeah, I know of him. I mean, he's kind of irrelevant at this point, isn't he? Like, he had a kind of a second, he had a few big songs, and now he's just like kind of slipped off the map. Sal, because you gave the 20, I want to do it. Ow! I really like him as an artist. I like his newest album. What are my thoughts on him? Yeah, I mean, as far as like super glitzy, flashy trap rappers go, I think he's generic and boring. I don't really find anything that's special about him. I mean, if you like him, I understand he makes immediate, catchy banger tracks, and he probably does have some personality to him, but he just doesn't really stand out to me, frankly. But what do I know? I listen to JPEG Mafia. I'm a weirdo. Can I go more into depth about why you don't like Panic at the Disco? Do you like any of their albums? What's your favorite Brockhampton song? Anyways, love your content. I would recommend that you look at my Brockhampton Summer March Madness list, as I do sort of like go through all the songs on that list, and I sort of come to a favorite. Panic at the Disco probably... They happened during a time when I was really turned off to a lot of punk and pop punk that was just sort of modern shit. I was more of like an old school punk purist around the time that they broke, and just thought their music was a little too uppity and annoying. I've just never really been a Panic at the Disco guy, nor, a Fall Out Boy guy. And, that whole era, that whole era of like emo and pop punk, it wasn't really that into it. I know that given my age at the time, I probably should have been hella into it. But here's the thing. I know maybe some people, look at me reviewing some of the music that I do now and say, aren't you too old to be listening to this or talking about this? I mean, honestly, I felt too old for most of the shit that was popular when I was fucking 18. And I was never one of those kids that was like, I'm in the wrong generation, because, no matter what the year was, I was always finding new, interesting underground stuff. Just generally, I've always just hated mainstream shit. I've just always hated mainstream shit for a good portion of like my listening years when I was a teenager and when I was in college. It actually hasn't been until recently through my reviews that I've come to appreciate the mainstream and pop so much more. However, in my opinion, I think these days the mainstream, because of the internet breaking down so many cultural barriers, it's a lot more varied, or at least you can have more access to more interesting and sort of more alternative shit than you would have back in the day. And it's easier to kind of avoid the mainstream shit if you really don't want to hear it. Whereas back in the day, through all traditional media platforms, you were just fucking inundated with it. So, I mean, maybe a band like Fall Out Boy is worth going back and giving another try with hindsight. But I've never really been that big into sort of that era and that brand of rock music around that time. Got some music recommendations for you, Tony. Check out The Greeting Committee. Chelsea Jade. Okay. Pop it into my phone. What's up? I know you weren't into Gojira's last couple of releases, but what did I think about their music prior to 2010? Did I know or care about them at all? Yeah, I mean, I think they're a progressive metal band that doesn't turn me off that much. Some of their early stuff is pretty good. It's not too technical and too flashy to the point where it turns me off or anything, but still, I would say it's a style of metal music that I don't really care that much for. It's probably not one of my favorites, but Gojira I do respect as one of the more solid bands in the genre, because even their latest stuff that I haven't given the most glowing reviews to, I mean, it's at least, in my opinion, worthwhile enough to talk about. I just wanted to say you give me life, man. Whoa, Bob Haig. a dude from my past. This dude knew me back in college. You know, if you look up Bob Haig on Twitter, you can hit him up and say, hey man, what was Anthony like in college? Because he knew, man. Bob Haig knew. I still need to work on that channel intro video for you one day when I get back up to CT. WSIN forever. Hell yeah, WSIN. If you're going to Southern Connecticut State University, join up with the radio club, WSIN. I love the demeanor when addressing the right. I stand an angry soy boy. A recent post on Reddit wondered why there are more tough guy commentators on the right than the left. Start a political channel, boo. Yeah, I mean, I wish there were more tough guy commentators on the left. I think Kyle Kalinske does a decent job of that, though. Not that he's a tough guy, but you know, he comes through with kind of a forceful, strong demeanor. I think there are a lot of men, unfortunately, that turn to the right because they're attracted by the masculine, you know, like this is this and that is that, logical, you know, personality, you know, A-type personalities of the right. You know, unfortunately, I think if we had more voices on the left kind of delivering, you know, messages in that fashion, you know, maybe people can kind of get caught into the aesthetic of it. You know, let me say that you guys should check out Kyle Kalinske, David Pakman, Majority Report, Michael Brooks Show, fucking The Humanist Report. Just a few examples. Eraserhead Effers have a new single with JPEG Mafia called "You Elected a Rapist Goes Hard" on some anarchist-ish and narcs. Marx debunked rape years ago, dude. Janelle Monáe's Be Safe Blockhead. I did hear that song that he did with JPEG Mafia. I thought it was kind of annoying. I mean, I get the point and the message of the song, but I thought it was a little obnoxious, frankly. I thought it was trying a little bit too hard. Ow! Why You Know Review Death Cab for Cutie's last album. Thank you for today in August. If you listened to it, what were your thoughts? I personally thought it was a nice return to form. Personally, I thought it was still a super bland record. You know, I thought it was still a super bland record. I actually talked about it in a previous Why You Know review and pretty much said right there I thought it was bland. But yeah, that's still pretty much my feel. It's still pretty much my opinion, sadly. All right, let's go on to the next one. I ever thought about making... Hold on, let's keep going here. There we go. I ever thought about making the needle drop bigger, like creating a media around it, having other people involved? Peace. Thanks for your great reviews. I thought about it. I'm not exactly sure exactly how to go about it, though. You know, like... And will my audience be as receptive to other people's opinions as they are to mine? I've tried in the past occasionally to have somebody on who, you know, gives their opinion on a record or something. And usually the, you know, point of view is, where the fuck is Anthony? I don't want to see this fucking dickhead, which is unfortunate. You know, however, I have thought about, like, you know, basically scaling up but on the back end, so I'm doing less business stuff and worrying about less behind the scenes shit, so that I can just, you know, worry about getting the reviews done and getting the content done, which is very workable for me. I would like to maybe get to a point where I'm potentially like in a studio and, you know, doing an interview series with maybe another person or another couple of people, where maybe getting a podcast going or something like that. But an interview series would be great. And, you know, getting a studio, finding a spot, you know, hosting artists, hosting bands, hosting whoever, whoever would be an interesting conversation. And, you know, that I think branching out right now means making more different types of content. And, you know, we're trying to get the podcast back up and, you know, get some advertising revenue into that and sort of put more, you know, interviews into that and stuff. So it's coming together. You know, it's slowly but surely happening. And my wife is actually coming on board this year to, you know, help me manage a lot of the business stuff, which is going to be great. So I'm really excited for that. I know you dislike a lot of 2000s rock and nu metal, but have you listened closely to the incredibly tasteful technical bass lines in some of those songs? I think thinking of bands like Mudvayne and Alien Ant Farm, could never really get into Alien Ant Farm, but I do know what you're talking about, because during this era of nu metal, there was like a lot of crazy slap bass. And look, I mean, I dislike a lot of the music from that era, but here's the thing. That only comes with, ow, if I didn't do that already, that only comes with my incredible familiarity with all of it, because that is exactly the type of music that I loved, you know, when I was in high school. I mean, I had a phase, And then after that, I had a punk phase and all that shit. But look, that is the shit that I listened to. That was my shit. Okay. And, yeah, I mean, back in the day, I had LD50. LD50 was a very fun record. Not really a record I look back on now, that positively, but, there are, still some bands from that new metal era that I think are pretty cool. I think Slipknot's pretty sweet. Their first two records are pretty fucking badass. I was listening to the first Korn album the other day because I was listening to, I got kind of reminded of some of that shit after my System of a Down review, because I watched that again because I thought that review came out particularly good, and System of a Down is fucking amazing. So, yeah. I mean, there are some good bass lines coming out of that era, because a lot of that fieldy slap bass shit was crazy. When will you bless us with a new Calcichesta project? Calcichesta has a new song that he's working on, so hopefully that comes together soon. And the idea is to eventually take a lot of the songs that he's dropped over the past year and put them onto a cassette or something, and just drop that. Love your hip hop reviews. Oh wait, let me give you I missed giving you a ow, and let's give you a ow. And wait, I don't want to miss this one. Love you, Big Melon. Love you too, Michael. I love your hip hop reviews. Check out the single "Don't Love Me" by Dwellers. Okay, put that in my phone. It's almost 90 minutes. I'm doing pretty good without a drink, though I do feel like I'm going to be dying by the 2-hour mark. Also, what did I think about the new Tenacious D album, Post Apocalypto? I haven't listened to it. Post Apocalypto. Yeah, I haven't heard it. I've never been a big Tenacious D guy, though I do recognize they have talent, and I do think they're entertaining and funny guys. But again, never been like a big Tenacious D dude, frankly. You're going to have to just sort of like be incredibly disappointed with me on that front. Moving on from there, what do I think their best album is? Yeah, again, I can't comment because, just again, never been a big Tenacious D guy, but I probably should make some time to familiarize myself more and just get better at being a Tenacious D person. It's great you can review artists without getting enamored and fanboyish about them. I think that's what throws people off. They get emotionally attached to artists, then they aren't sure why you don't. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. In my opinion, and I want to get to this one, Lust for Life is Lana's only bad album. Please stop saying it was good. I mean, I think my review of that record was still like lukewarm in general. So, I mean, I wouldn't say like, it's amazing, but it's probably the closest Lana has come to doing a project that I think is a favorite. Ultraviolence sucks. Anyway. Here's the thing. I don't think there's any shortage of interesting music out there. You know what I mean? Or any shortage of thoughtful or sort of cutting edge music out there. Yes, you do have to go looking for it a little bit. You do have to put in a little bit of extra effort. A lot of it's not just going to fall in your fucking lap. I don't even hear all of it because I don't have the time or the ability or the brain power to hear all the great music out there. There's probably tons of great music that's totally slipping by me, or just doesn't, click with me for whatever reason. Because just because something doesn't click with me or I give it a negative review doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be great to somebody else. But to sort of get back to your point, I don't think there's any shortage of good music out there. So at least for me personally, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be a fan and that you shouldn't care about, your favorite artist's well-being and whether or not they come out with another great record. You're in the position to be able to do that because you're a music fan. I can't be emotionally attached because I got to review every motherfucker's next record. And if that next record is not good, then I can't be like, hey, I love it just because I liked the band's previous stuff. It doesn't work that way. I think there's no shortage of good stuff out there. If you're not giving me good stuff, somebody else is going to give me good stuff. So look, if you're coming out with music and I'm paying attention to you, make sure every record's your best record. Because, if you stop coming out with good shit, I'm going to go find somebody else who is, because there are only so many albums I can review every year, honestly. And when a band comes out with 2, 3 mediocre records in a row, or, artist, rapper, whoever, I have to start sort of putting my focus elsewhere because frankly, at the end of the day, I would rather, unless the record is like, it's being demanded of me that I talk about it because, the fans really want it. I'd rather review something I find interesting than not. I have to walk to work tomorrow because I spent my bus money on the super chat. Why did you do that? I want you to be able to ride the bus, dude. Saint Pablo is the best encapsulation of Kanye in a song. Agree. I don't know if I totally agree. I think, Through the Wires is one of my favorite encapsulations of Kanye in a song. But St. Pablo is a good one. Also off that same record, I think Famous is a great one. But, I think T-Lop does do a great job of capturing a certain essence of Kanye in that portion of his career. Yes, I do think it does a great job of that. Ow! Hey, Love from Montreal, need advice. How do you keep your reviews so concise? My friend and I did a review of Speeding Bullet to Heaven, and it lasted 2.5 hours. Look, I think you should take into account functionality during a review. I don't want to miss this. Just wanted to ask you one more question. Did I have a favorite film from last year? Anyway, love your stuff. Keep up the great work. I didn't have a favorite film from last year, honestly. I don't even remember what films I saw last year. It's such a fucking blur to me. Although I did see that Grinch movie last year and it was pretty badass. It was fun. It was heartwarming. Electric Lady Sessions album by LCD Sound System will be released next week. Am I hyped? Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Also, thanks for recommending Twin Fantasy. Heard it because of you, and it's my album of the year. That's good. Really beautiful, sad album. Awesome. Glad you like it. And listen, Cafe Latin album, best of all time. Okay, I'll give it a shot. But to get back to your question, sorry. You should think of functionality during a review. Think of who's going to watch the review. Now, look, I'm not saying that a short review or a long review is necessarily a good or a bad thing. Maybe doing a review podcast where you talk about an album for 2 fucking hours makes sense. Maybe there's an audience for that sort of thing. Maybe there's a podcast out there already doing that sort of thing, or maybe if you start doing it, people will love it and you'll see success with it. I don't know if a 2.5 hour YouTube video about an album makes sense. I think if you're going to do that, podcast would be cool. But for me personally, one thing that I like to think about in my reviews is functionality, because I like to think of what is the audience's takeaway from this review going to be. I'm assuming the audience is going to my video and they want to hear in a quick and convenient fashion, like, what makes this album good or bad? Why is it worth my time? Why should I avoid it? What should I look for going into it? And I feel like it's my responsibility to tell them that in an efficient fashion. And also, I feel like what makes it easy to do a review in a concise manner is that I'm doing it by myself. When you're doing something with a friend, you're going to open up conversations and there's going to be a back and forth. And not that 2 people can't make short videos, they certainly can. But, if you're there with another person, there is the tendency to kind of go on because you're more engrossed in the back and forth that you're having than you are the content that you're making. Think about the convenience. Think about how other people are going to consume the content and how other people might need it to be, in a digestible length. Have I heard of Keon Christ, formerly Midas, debut LP? No, I have not at all. I have not at all. I will put that in my phone and I'll try to see if I can check it out. Ow! Sophia. Hey, Melonhead, what's your favorite Ghost record and why? I gotta go, I think it's Meloria. I gotta go with the second record they released. God, I don't like that record that much. That's my least favorite of theirs. Zombie Queen is an amazing cut. Also, what do I think a halftime show featuring them would be like? I think it would be amazing. I actually think Ghost would be a really fun halftime show. Unfortunately, the NFL, culturally speaking, as far as the audience goes, is a little bit more like right wing. It's a little more heartland America, and I don't know if the satanic, aesthetic of Ghost play over all that well during an NFL game. I think the NFL fans might like the music, though. I think they might like Ghost's music if all the weird Satan shit wasn't there. But if they could just kind of hear the music for what it is, I actually think it might go over really well at an NFL game. So I think an NFL performance from them would be pretty cool, honestly. Will I do a classics review of Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral? I think a Downward Spiral might be in the cards at some point. Alrighty, Melon, I ignored my first one. Sorry. So I'm re-asking and adding another. What is my personal favorite of the big 4 grunge bands? Probably Slayer, then Metallica, then Anthrax, then Megadeth. Favorite Fiona Apple song? I'm a criminal. Although the title is amazing, but also her last record is fantastic too. I think her last record is honestly one of her best. And some of my favorite songs of hers, period, do come off that album. Demo version of Beach Fossils, Clash the Truth, mixed way better than the released album. Strongly recommended. Also, did I like the first two albums? I thought the first two records were bland. But I've not heard the demo version. Interesting to hear it's mixed better because I actually like Clash the Truth quite a bit. Loved your stuff with Mark Rebillet and was wondering if you two got together and if we'll be seeing more collaborations. Mark was hitting me up a little while ago, and he's in the middle of tour right now. He seems to be doing okay. He tells me he's keeping it together and not going too crazy. And we do have plans later this year when he is done and things are a little more settled down for him to collaborate again and maybe do something a little bit more formal instead of just kind of like a casual jam. And, maybe even do like an EP or something, So that's the plan right now. So yes, Mark and I will be crossing paths again and doing a little bit more music for sure. Would an album consisting of multiple genres from start to finish work in practice, even if it's done well? Would an album consisting of multiple genres from start to finish work in practice, even if it's done well? Or is the need for an artist to have a specific identity or important? Yeah, I don't necessarily think so. I mean, look at Ween, look at Mr. Bungle, look at They Might Be Giants. I mean, you could say that those three bands are not like the biggest bands in the world. They're obviously not U2, as far as like popularity and presence. But I would say they're successful bands, and stylistically, all those groups and many others are all over the place. So I don't think sticking to one genre on a record is necessarily the winning key to a good record. You can make a good record that resonates with people and sells copies. That's kind of all over the place stylistically, but it's got to be done well. You said you liked everything from Arc on everything, but didn't review it because it didn't come out in America. Did I ever listen to it? Yeah, I listened to pretty much most of it when it eventually did come out in America. And yeah, it's a good record. It's not as colorful and as catchy as their next full-length LP, but I do think it is a really creative rock album that not enough people kind of appreciate. I do kind of like that progressive, experimental, very mathy, Battles-ish sound that they were toying with, and I wish more groups would kind of take off of that. Hello, Melon Boy. I disagree with your opinions on Greta Van Fleet. You should check out Goodbye June and the Struts. Both have a classic rock sound. Shout out to Notre Dame, and I'll try to take a minute. Listen to Take You to the Movies by Bangs. I know who the fuck Bangs is. Bangs is hilarious, and Bangs is a very old fucking meme, dude. I'm old. I know what Bangs is. Hey, the Guy Tano. Have I heard of the Dissect podcast? I have. Cole actually asked me if I wanted to be on an episode and do an interview. He hasn't followed up though. I need to hit him back and sort of ask him if we're actually going to get together and do that interview thing. So let me write myself a reminder. Because it's a good idea. I should do it. And also yeah, I mean, the podcast is good, though. He does a good podcast. Do check out the Dissect podcast. Very thorough music podcast. Ow! Daniel, thank you for coming back. Hey, Melon, could you go into more depth about your interview with Richie with a T was, specifically what you guys were talking about on the first half? We talked about, and Richie was kind of elusive on some of the stuff, so he wasn't giving away too much stuff, but he said there's going to be a lot of collaborators, producers, featured artists, and that sort of thing. He didn't say it was going to be conceptual or anything like that, but, there's going to be a lot of different ideas and different sounds and topics sort of explored throughout the, my phone battery died, so I can't take any more pictures of the screen, but, he did give me the sense that a lot of ground was going to be covered in terms of different sounds and topics and ideas and collaborators, so definitely a varied record. We also talked about the growth of the groups and signing to a label, which he said that their label is giving them a lot of creative freedom, so it's not interrupting or anything like that. And, he said they're trying to, once again, do their best record that resonates with a lot of people. And, we both kind of came to the sense and the conclusion that there were a lot of people kind of watching them and waiting to see, if they really kind of like live up to expectations and climb out of the underground. You know what I mean? And I think they definitely have the potential to do that. They also said they went down to Hawaii and they were working with Amine on some music, on his music and on their music. And, I was trying to pull a lot of stuff out of him that he wasn't giving me all the full details on. But, the next record sounds interesting. Sounds like they're going to be taking some risks. And, they made it while they were, out on the road. And, it's I don't know, just kind of seemed like just a good conversation. I'm sorry I don't remember more of it off the top of my head, but I'm a little burnt with 20 minutes left in the live stream. Is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac a 10? It's certainly close to a 10. It's a great fucking pop record. Do I have a specific process when listening to a new album? I've changed opinions on albums. I would say my process is I try to listen to the record in a few different contexts. I try to listen to it while maybe doing some other stuff or at the gym kind of on a surface level way. So I'm just kind of getting a general gist of what the vibe of the record is. And then after that, I give it some intense listening sessions where I'm trying to getting through like 3 or 4 or 6 listens of the record and kind of going through each track and writing down what makes each track special or stand out or unique or maybe not unique or bad. And just kind of, look at the album as a whole after that and sort of see how the songs all come together, as an entire record. I would say that's kind of my process of processing the album. I think System of a Down's first album is their heaviest and best album. Also, is Steel this album bad in your opinion? No, Steel this album is great. And I don't know, I don't think the production is heavier on their first record. I think their first record is maybe a tad bit more aggressive, not as ballad heavy as Toxicity. It's more aggressive, it's more raw, it's more distorted. But I think Toxicity's production is a little bit heavier. What's my favorite record by Lizzie Mercier? I've never sort of gotten that deep into her stuff, honestly. Though I do know that avant-garde Frenchy shit, I probably should know more about it. Though I know my wife has burned me at least a few of her tracks on like our early Love You mix CDs and everything. So I'm familiar with her stuff in a very tangential way. But I've never gotten into her discography or anything like that. Thought about doing a series where you give my opinion on albums I've been recommended. Potentially, maybe sort of like reacting to records or albums I've not really sort of spent the time getting into. Wondering if you could check my album I put out in the fall. It influenced by electronic rock Bandcamp page, John Dallas, 2001. I'll try to recall it and look it up on Bandcamp. John Dials. Sorry, I said your name wrong. Thoughts on Detroit techno genre? I mean, it's a good breeding ground for electronic music creativity. I do in some ways prefer it to some of the house stuff, especially the early stuff, because it is very, I guess, kind of futuristic and cold and calculated, almost in like a Kraftwerkian kind of way. Early Detroit techno, I don't really have anything against it. Hey Melon, how was your day? Which record is better in your opinion, Siamese Dream or Melancholy? I think Siamese Dream is the more immediately catchy and addictive record. I think Melancholy is the more ambitious record. But I think Siamese Dream is maybe the more quick, exciting, sort of like fulfilling experience. I think I'm more of a Siamese Dream guy, even though there are some amazing tracks on Melancholy. Kwamal, thank you very much. What would you recommend for people new to hardcore punk coming up from rap, Rage Against the Machine? Not a big fan of screaming yet, so Incendiary is the only band I listen to right now. I mean, maybe listening to some of the more melodic hardcore and, skate punk of the 90s and that sort of thing, like a Anti-Flag or a Bad Religion and that sort of thing might be up your alley. I mean, that brand of punk is very much not my thing, but maybe you'll take to that stuff. But I mean, if you want to get into hardcore punk, I mean, you might have to sit through some screaming. You know what I mean? You're going to have to listen to some Minor Threat, get their discography CD. You're going to have to listen to Dead Kennedys, God, In God We Trust Incorporated, or Plastic Surgery Disasters, or even their debut record. Actually, listen to Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. Kind of a hardcore punk record. Not a whole lot of screaming on it because Jello Biafra just has a really weird voice. I listened to Slow Dive and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy for the first time, and I love them. Where should I go next? I don't know, maybe like some Have a Nice Life, Death Consciousness. But honestly, like the pool of amazing shoegaze records out there, it's very limited to a certain era, and it's very small. So I mean, you've kind of like exhausted a good portion of the best shoegaze right there. If you've gone through the My Bloody Valentine and Slow Dive discographies already. When you have the time, could you please check out my 3 SoundCloud songs and tell me your opinion? Kevin, okay, I'll pop it onto my desktop. I'll try to remember to hit it up. And you look into I've not looked into the Fermi paradox yet. Where's the aliens, if mathematically they should be everywhere? You think we're the first or in a simulation of the first. Also tell people when your next Rate Your Music is. Tuesday. My next Rate Your Music is this coming week. So I'm doing Rate Your Music every other week. I don't know if Rate Your Music is going to land on Tuesday. It might be Tuesday. It might be Wednesday. It might be Thursday. But Rate Your Music is every other week. So there will be a Rate Your Music coming this week. So do look out for that tweet when I put it up to announce that you should submit your music to be reviewed for the Rate Your Music segment. How do I feel about Astrological Straits by Zach Hill? Also give Face Tat another chance. It's good. I still don't care for Face Tat all that much, but frankly, I wasn't super head over heels for Astrological Straits when it originally came out either. But in retrospect, after listening to Death Grips, I have enjoyed Astrological Straits a lot more. I do think it is a more varied and weird record in comparison with Face Tat, though. Astrological Straits is definitely the superior album in comparison with those 2 records. Hey, Papa Pac-Man Maine. When are you coming out with another It's Food? Tried the recipe with the nuts and it slapped. Love your vids. I am going to be coming out with more It's Foods this year. When my wife ends up quitting her job and we work together full time on the needle drop stuff, we are definitely going to be doing more It's Foods. Right now, we've just both personally been slammed with our own work, and she's very busy at her job too. It does take time and effort on the part of my wife to take part in the It's Food series. So I don't necessarily I'm not always in the position to bug her to do it. You know what I mean? Nor are both of us feeling up to it sometimes because we have a lot going on in our lives. But hopefully once time kind of opens up later this year and we're working together more closely, we're going to do It's Food on a more regular basis. Will you ever explore more K-pop? Stray Kids is a very good upcoming rookie group that's been making waves, heavy rap influence. Maybe. I'm not going to rule it out. It'll most likely happen since I think K-pop is still currently on the rise, but it's not particularly a genre I'm too crazy about, so it's not like I kind of end up looking out for it necessarily or go seeking it out, unless some stuff is like falling on my plate that I have to review. Usually I'm just kind of going where my ears are taking me. And I do listen to a lot of the, the stuff that people recommend to me as far as like the K-pop fandom goes. And some of it just doesn't really do much for me. A lot of it just sort of sounds like westernized pop music, which isn't usually a big deal to me sometimes anyway, not to say that K-pop groups don't have talent and don't put in the effort and don't make music people like, but sometimes it's just not really for me. Hey Melon, have I listened to anything by Whispered? They're 2016 now. I'm not familiar with Whispered. I'll have to just check them out at a future time. I'm not familiar with Whispered. Super Chat was lost. I wanted to say System of a Down has 2 shows in May. What? Whoa. Am I going? Pussy Riot is playing too. That's hilarious. Maybe. I don't know. But if they're playing together, hopefully that means they'll be open to making a record together, which is ultimately what I want. Seen Pac-Man's interview with Jesse Lee Peterson? Oh my God, yes. Oh God, it is the funniest fucking thing. David Pac-Man with the David Pac-Man interviewing Jesse Lee Peterson was fucking hilarious. And Jesse Peterson fucking self-owns himself a million times. That I have no idea how Jesse Lee Peterson is taken seriously. The dude is not all right. He's not okay. God, what did he say in that interview? David was critiquing something he said, and he asked David pointedly, "You thought that was a not good what? You thought that was a not good comment or like a not good something. It just sounded painfully dumb, but ugh. Jesse's interview style is so dumb, and he's just so unaware of how funny he is. I feel sorry for the guy, honestly. But that is definitely one of my favorite YouTube videos. I agree. Kudos to you for having to put together list week and all the effort and time that you do and under all the pressure. Also, what do I think of Street Sex Kicking Mule? Yeah, I don't care for the vocals on it at all. I most likely will be talking about the record in the next Why You Know review very soon. Can I recommend me some house music, not surface level stuff like Daft Punk, not super deep stuff either? Go on Rate Your Music and look up house music if that's like the conundrum I'm being put in the middle of. Because it's like, I don't want super obscure, but I don't want super popular either. It's like, okay, well, what the fuck do you want me to do? Yeah, I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. What are my opinions on Five Finger Death Punch? Yeah, I think Five Finger Death Punch is not really a metal band that I'm all that into. But you know what? Let's take a little break here. I know a few more will probably accrue, and I'll get to them after that. Let's just go into here. Let's just see what the house music recommendations are here, and some of which I've reviewed in here. Oh, John Hopkins, Immunity is a great record. That one is not too popular, but it's not too obscure either. And hey, here's my favorite electronic music record from last year. Against All Logic, aka Nicholas Jarre. Do check out that record. The Field, while I'm not a big Field fan, The Field does have quite a few good house records. And he's not too popular, and he's also not too obscure either. You might also enjoy Fortet. You might like some of his stuff. He's not like, strictly a house music artist, but I think, he might come out with some music that you do like. DJ Sprinkles, I've never really gotten into his stuff. Orb is a pretty classic house outfit. And also Justice. Cross, I think, is a painfully underrated record. Cross is really fucking awesome. Really great electro house record. Although that album may be too popular, in your opinion. It is a very popular record, or at least was popular during its time. I don't... And also, check out a little Panther Du Prince as well. So let's go on from there. Kudos to you. Got that one. I want to get this $5 one. I don't want it to slip away. Do I think Young Thug's best music is behind him, or do I see him coming through with more eccentric quality records like Pick Up the Phone? I mean, is that even really his... I mean, he did have that record, I think, on one of his albums, but that was more of a collaborative joint. Yeah, I mean, I think Young Thug's innovations are behind him at this point. Will he continue to come out with catchy music? Most likely. But I think we've heard what Young Thug is going to do at this point. I don't really know if there's going to be a point where Young Thug kind of reinvents himself. You're adorable, but anyway, at what age range / sex is most of your audience wondering, because people in your content ranges from intellectual to poop and pee jokes? Yeah, I mean, looking at my YouTube metrics, the range of people who watch me, it's like a 90-10% split between men and women. And, depending on the video, it can be a little bit more, a little bit less. And it ranges from kids like the Dad Reacts dude, Rory, who are in like that tween age, all the way up to people who are like 35. So it's sort of in that range. So they're, older, collegiate, chill people who have full-time jobs and are salaried workers and, have steady jobs and families. And then there's like, kids who watch me who make poo-poo pee jokes and go on 4chan. All these people talking politics, I don't think I'm the only one that just wants to hear about the music, not putting it down, but that's just not what I'm here for. Yeah, I understand. I do tend to get political, and people do talk about politics and bring up politics in the super chats, and I feel obligated to respond. And politics isn't everybody's thing, but, it is kind of my thing. I did study it in college, and it was a focus in my degree, and it's something I've been passionate about for a long time, and I can't help but talk about it sometimes on social media anyway, and it sort of spills out into the rest of the world. And personally, I mean, I think if you are a citizen of a country, it's your duty to at least be aware of the politics going on in your country and be engaged in some way, shape, or form, because we are fortunate enough to live in something that is the semblance of a democracy and, more input and more participation is not a bad thing. Hey, Anthony, what makes you happy lately? Good music, exercising regularly, palm juice, getting more sleep, Super Smash Brothers, and sexual intercourse, and that reality show, Love After Lockup. Odds of a Yellow House classic review. Ooh, that would be a fun classic review. Yellow House classic review. Plus, have I heard Crumbling by Midair Thief? I have, and it's funny that you bring up Yellow House because I do think there are some points of that record that are a blatant Yellow House ripoff. Really awesome Korean folktronica album. That was a big, I thought it was okay. Your music reviews are just your opinion, Melon. That's true. Change my mind. Yeah, I don't want to change your mind on that because they are just my opinion. You should review Velocity Design Comfort. I agree. I probably should. It actually was in consideration for this previous Classics week, but I actually just reviewed that Burial record instead. Can in late. Didn't get a notification. Just want to say that you're the best and loved your Killer Mike tweet today. What are some of the best albums that you would consider the greatest ever? Probably like Wires, Pink Flag, Nation of Millions from Public Enemy, Paul's Boutique, fucking 36 Chambers, I Talk with the Spirits, Saint and the Sinner Lady, fucking, I don't know, fucking Remain in Light, Mad Villainy, fucking In the Court of the Crimson King, just to name a few. Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to Heaven. What's my favorite Tribe album? Low End Theory. Do I think Tribe or Wu-Tang has more of an impact on the current industry? I think Wu-Tang has more of an impact on the current industry. Thoughts on the post-hardcore genre? I do love the old school stuff. I love Fugazi. That sort of era is where it was perfect for me. All of the, Alex is on Fire and Silverstein. That is not my era, unfortunately. That shit mostly just turns me off. Although I do love Blood Brothers. They were a good post-hardcore band from that era. I fucking love Blood Brothers. What's the strangest album you've ever heard but really enjoyed apart from Death Grip? Scott Walker's Bish Bosh. Next question. Favorite Tom Waits song album? Also, Who Do You Want for Smash DLC? Gino from Super Mario RPG. Favorite Tom Waits record might be either Rain Dogs or Bone Machine or Blood Money. Hey, boy, love you. Look out for Darren's new EP, Lemon Grove. You might like him. Okay, Lemon Grove. Hi, favorite Death Cab album? Favorite Death Cab album is probably Transatlantic, because I think that's where the songwriting was just the best, and the recording was still pretty punchy. Band had a pulse, a little bit of a pulse. If I ever want to feel better about being American, you should check out China Law. Their social credit system is straight out of Black Mirror episode. I did read about that. And other countries have fucking problems, and I'm not saying America is a horrible place to live. America has a lot of great qualities about it. And it's those great qualities that make me passionate in the way that I am because, hey, we actually have the opportunity to change things for the better. It certainly seems like we're on the cusp of that. I think now is not the time to just sort of fucking, be asleep at the fucking wheel. I could understand how, that might be the case pre-social media and this ability that the internet has given us to grassroots organize so effectively. Because, back in the day, I've gone to some fucking, political meetings and green, party events and working families events, back when I was more active in protesting, the Iraq war and that kind of shit when I was in high school and college, and the shit was like depressing, because like everybody just didn't have a fucking clue and there was like no opportunity to really just get anything done. But nowadays I think it's important now more than ever to fucking get your head in the game. Sorry for talking politics again. Have I heard of Matt Maltese? No, I have not. But I can look him up. His name does sound interesting. What's the best TV or movie I've ever watched recently? I did watch that Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which I thought was pretty cool. The whole sort of choose your own adventure thing, it was executed pretty well, even if I do think the storyline was a little wonky. Aesthetically, the movie, the project was pretty cool. And I'll take a few more questions. We have a few more left. How do you advise someone to keep up with multiple genres? It's hard for me to just keep up with hip hop, much less other genres. Also, Skydive is amazing. Fuck out of here. The singing on that record is so weak. Ugh. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know, man. I mean, look, I get a lot of people recommending me records who care about certain genres, and I also get like a lot of recommendations and PR emails in my inbox. So I mean, I'm being inundated with the stuff, so it's kind of hard not to miss out on the big ticket item shit. But look, there's a lot of more obscure and good stuff that just sort of flies under the radar in every genre. I don't keep track of everything. I'm just barely keeping hold as it is. But Rate Your Music and also Metacritic do a pretty good job of throwing up a album, recommendation, or not recommendation, but album release date lists. And, Apple Music has a pretty nice album, new music page where you can kind of see the latest album releases that are kind of relevant and that sort of thing. Obviously no huge underground shit on there, but and Bandcamp is really good when it comes to sort of editorializing the best material that is on the platform. So, those are at least a few different ways or platforms that you can hop onto to kind of keep your finger on the pulse, I guess. Also, there is the Indie Head subreddit, the Hip Hop Head subreddit. Do I think that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard will break into the mainstream or not, and why? I don't think so, because I don't think it's something they really want to do. Like, they don't really strike me as a band that wants to make the kind of pop-centric music that like Tame Impala does. You know what I mean? However, I haven't heard the new single yet, so I don't even know at this point. I will be reviewing it tomorrow, though, so look forward to that. And I would not do a worst to best for them at the moment because they're still kind of coming out with their best stuff, I would think. Rate Fear of a Black Planet, The Minstrel Show, Hell Hath No Fury, To Cal, Ill Communication. Why would you have me rate all of those different fucking records? Okay, Fear of a Black Planet is probably going from the albums you listed, at least a 9, probably like a 7 or an 8. Hell Hath is like a 9 or a 10. To Cal is like around a 7 maybe, and Ill Communication is like in that 8 to 10 range as well. That's a fantastic fucking record, although I have not heard it in a while. If I could have one artist from the 60s to 80s collab with a modern artist too, I wish I could have David Bowie collaborate with like Charlie XCX or something. I think that would be fucking amazing. Anthony Anderson is back. Ow! Thank you. And this is going to be last couple of questions here, guys. Are we going to get a stink piece or cringing with video soon? I haven't seen anything to cringe at lately, and I haven't seen anything that's too stinky in my opinion. Or maybe another Dead End Hip Hop collab. I'm going to be collaborating with Dead End Hip Hop on their games podcast or channel because they're going to have me on to play Super Smash Brothers, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to be playing Smash with Beezy, so I'm going to be playing some Smash with the boys. What is the most underground artist I could think of that can be great? I don't know. Clarence Clarity or Eric Clanton. George Clanton is what I was thinking of. Last ones. No more super chats. No more. There is a list on the pudding that goes through most rappers, how verbose they are, and it's really cool. Would love to see it on the Fantano channel. Okay, I'll look it up. The pudding. I haven't really followed up with that. I have not heard the Lost Boys EP. Thank you, Connor. Being a bass player, do I find myself constantly paying attention to the bass lines in music? Yes. Do I think it can compromise my listening? No, not really. No, not really. Although I do, find myself paying attention to the bass lines. Do I like Gay Album? Yeah, I do. I do like it. Is sex really that good? I've never had it. Sex is great. And you only need to know that it's great just by how many people, and this is going to be the last answer, last one. Sex is great by how many people are totally willing, and not just willing, but have totally ruined their lives over it. So, If sex wasn't good, I don't think people would be fucking ruining their lives over it. Look at Tiger Woods, man. That dude has everything, or had everything. Dude still couldn't keep it in his pants. And went totally off the rails. And, it was like, I'm a sex addict, which, the sex addiction, it's probably a real thing. But, still, sex, great. People totally fuck themselves up over sex. Yeah, Tiger is back, but the sex addiction, it did fucked him up. But hey, look, I'm not hating. Maybe one day I'll be fucking sex addicted and I'll drive my SUV into a fucking tree, okay? But you know what? We'll cross that bridge when I get there. All right? And when we get there, I'll say, I said it. I predicted it. I said sex is crazy and people fuck themselves up over sex. And now it's fucking me up. So, what are you going to do? If I get there, I'll be fucked up. What is a great Ghostface album that isn't Iron Man? SC or Fish Scale? I guess Bulletproof Wallets is okay. And also the collaboration with Adrian Young, the Reasons to Die record is good. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. You guys are the best. Thank you for being here. Sorry to all the questions and everything that I missed. I need to go get a drink because I'm dying. I haven't had a drink in 2 hours and my throat is about to kill me, and I still need to be able to talk tomorrow. More starter packs at some point in the future, maybe. I would like to. They just do take up a lot of time. I will get to it eventually. So you're the best. I do love you. I hope you're well. And I'll see you guys in the next stream forever.